Tell me when we're ready to go.
Yeah, all set.
Okay, so Parshas Tetzaveh in a regular Shona Pshuta is always Parshas Zachor. It's either Truma Tetzaveh or just Tetzaveh, but it's always Tetzaveh Zachor in a regular non-leap year. So there has to be some type of inherent connection between Parshas Tetzaveh and Mechias Amalek. Shabbos Zachor is like part of the function of Mechias Amalek. This Karm Benasim, the Skir is on Shabbos, the Yasir is on Purim itself, so it has to be that if always the Niskarim before Nasa is Parshas Tetzaveh, there's got to be some type of message in Parshas Tetzaveh that's parallel to Mechias Amalek in some way. Parallel. Or the opposite. Whatever you want to call it. Chazal already point out the irony. I think it's Chazal, but it's not to find the exact earliest source. But the irony is pointed out that in Parshas Tetzaveh, Moshe Rabbeinu's name is not mentioned. He's called Va'ata, and you, throughout the parasha. Which is a bit of an irony, because on Shabbos Zachor we talk about to remember Amalek in order to blot out his name, Timcha Zecher Amalek. And Moshe Rabbeinu has a Mechias Shem in this parasha. Right? And we have to understand why this is, and how it's connected to the topics of the parasha. Now, regarding the topics of the parasha, one could easily say that that the Mlechsa Mishkan is divided up in Truma Tetzaveh. That in Truma talks about the Mishkan and Kalim, and the Tetzaveh talks about Big Day Kahuna. But that simple division doesn't hold. For two reasons. First of all, there's the break that needs to be understood. We're talking about the plans for everything that goes into the Mishkan, be it the Kalim, be it the Begadim, and the Torah interrupts. First thing that Parshas talks about is about preparing the Shemen, for the menorah. And it's a very strange place to put it, because if you want to say because the menorah was mentioned, so put it together with the menorah in last week's parsha. Like why here? Why is there's first the Shemen Lamaor, and that's what Vata Tetzas B'nei So was, the tzivui on the Shemen Lamaor. Why is that? Here between the Mishkan V'Kelev and the Big Day Kahuna. But what breaks the order even more is that the Mizbach HaKtoras, right, is mentioned at the end of this parsha. Now, the Mizbach HaKtoras is one of the Klei HaHeichal, should have been mentioned in Parshas Truma, together with the plans for the menorah and the Shulchan. Right. So why did the Torah not mention the Ktoras together, the Mizbach HaKtoras together with the Klei HaHeichal? It pushed it, not only there, it pushed it after the Big Day Kahuna, so we get back to, right, the Mizbach HaKtoras. Now, to explain all this, right, go back to the origin of clothing altogether. To understand,
It sounded great in Hebrew.
What?
Ofna, the Tchilat Ofna, Tchilat Musag Shel Ofna. It goes better. I don't know what it is. Fashion, I know, but even still, the Ofna Musag in Ivrit is a particular ring to it. Yeah. Okay.
Right. And then to understand the Indian of the Big Day Kahuna. Yeah. Right? So now the whole origin of clothes is from the Chet Eitz Hadas Tovara. Right? The first immediate result was first thing that happened was their eyes opened up and they realized that they were naked. It was like the immediate result of the Chet Eitz Hadas. If that's the first immediate result, so it can't be a coincidence. It must be directly linked. That was like that. That was even before the Rebbe Shalom came and decreed death and decreed all the hardships. The immediate result was the recognition that they're naked and they have to cover themselves. Right. So to understand this, we have to realize that the inyan of the shift, that happened as a result of the Chet Eitz Hadas. Right. Prior to the Chet, right. So of course there's the internal layer. There's the internal dimensions of reality, and there are the external dimensions of reality. Parallel to what? Parallel to the other. He has a neshama, and he has a guf. Right? One is, the internal, one is the external. Like the Gemara in Bracha says, "Ma neshama yosheves b'chadrei chadorim." Right? Right? It's also HaKadosh Baruch Hu is b'chadrei chadorim. And one of the parallels between Hashem and Neshama is that, as it were, Hashem's Iker glory. Iker glory is, in the inner dimensions of the universe. Right? And so the Neshama also sits like in the inner dimensions of the Adam. Now, in the original plan that we yearn to get back to, right, is that the chutz, the external, is meshubed to the internal, right? Meshubed to the internal, in two ways. I don't know how much we have to get into this, but the two ways that's is A, as a shomer, right? A shomer, the shomer, you put him on the outside. A shomer that's in your house with you is not much of a shomer. A shomer has to be on the outside, right? Whether it's a shomer, right, or as a vehicle, for what the pnimis wants to accomplish, So the vehicle for the pnimis to be yotze el hapoel, and that's mamash, in Lashon HaKor is very meduik, yotze el hapoel, go out into actuality. So the chitzonius is supposed to serve the pnimis in that function, bringing out into actuality. So it's the shomer, and it's the motzi el hapoel. So of course in that mahalach, where the chitzonius, is in service of the pnimius, right? So, because that is the relationship between them, so is that the pnimius shines through the chitzonius, because they're in sync. Right? In Mashal, that you could see what a person's thinking by what he's doing. That the guf follows the rotzen of the nefesh. Right? And this is what's merumas in what the famous Chazal that they found in the Sefer Torah of Rabbi Meir, Kosnos Or with an Aleph. We mentioned this Chazal many times already. Right? Kosnos Or with an Aleph, vestments of light. That the original inyan of the guf, when it was light as opposed to skin, the Parshas say it refers to the transition. Hashem gave them vestments of skin. They said, but in the same time, we found vestments of light. It refers to the shift that the guf went from light to skin. Right? That the pshat is like this: that the guf, which is a levush on the neshama, it's the chitzonius, right? The guf, which is a levush on the neshama was supposed to shine through the guf, and that's why the guf would be a vestment of light. As if the guf would conduct light. It would conduct the light of the neshama. Right? But then it became vestments of skin that now it obscures and it covers over the neshama. Right? So now this is just to repeat myself, you don't have to be redundant in your writing. That with the chet etzadas tov v'ra, it's called that the chitzonius rebelled against the pnimius. The immediate result being, right, that now chitzonius obscures pnimius, right? But he gufa, right? He gufa. That when the chitzonius obscures pnimius, and the chitzonius and the pnimius are, as it were, at war with each other, or not in sync with each other. So at that point, then the chitzonius is something ugly that you want to cover. So it's like the two things go together. When the chitzonius is a kisui on the pnimius, so who adinami that type of chitzonius itself you want to cover, because now it's ugly, ugly spiritually. Right, shameful, because just shame that it obscures the Or HaNeshama, so it also should be covered up, because it is ugly now, because it doesn't have the beauty of the Neshama going through it. Ugly, that's the shame of nakedness, the shame of error. Right? So this we can understand in Lashon HaKodesh. This is brought down Sforim. That beged in Lashon HaKodesh, beged has two meanings. You could read it beged, and it means garment, or you could read it bogad with different vowels. You could read those same oisias as bogad, rebelled. Like begidah is rebellion, is to be disloyal. That the inyan of begadim came from Begida. When the chitzonius rebelled against the pnimius, so that's when the concept of beged emerged. And it's mamish, it's like it's two parallel concepts that just like now the chitzonius is not through which the pnimius shines and operates. Rather, the chitzonius now obscures the pnimius. So connected that also, the chitzonius itself has to be covered in clothes because it is dirty. When it didn't obscure the pnimius, so then the Or HaPnim shine through. So just like it didn't obscure pnimius, it itself doesn't have to be covered up because it's beautiful. Right? But shame that now it covers over the pnimius, right? So hachiname, right? So hachiname, it itself has to be covered, because when it's in that state that it obscures the pnimius, it itself should be obscured, because when it's that way, it is ugly, right? So the beged, it goes together. Now, but this is a davar nifla ma'od that's very meduyak in the Kisvei Ha'ari. Right, the Yesodus of the Ari, that the Shvira, 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 the the Shviras HaKelim, which is all the kilkulim that there are. Right? Right? The Shviras HaKelim, manifested itself in the Bria Yetzira Asiya, right? The three lower olamas. Right? The Olam HaAtzilus is called the Olam HaEtzem, which is mamish keneged. That's like the etzem ha'anhaga. It's keneged like the shorish haneshama in a person. And the bria yitzira asiya, where there are kilkulim on various levels, they're called levushe ha'atzilus. They're called the levushim of the atzilus. It's something very important that you show the kilkul in the olamis is only in the levushim. The kilkul in the olamis is in the chitzonis. The previous remains tahor. Right. The problem is that the levushim now are working against the etzem. Not working in sync with the etzem. So now, on a deeper level, I mentioned this later in the shir. It should have been mentioned here. On a deeper level, kayadua, what broke the shvira is the midas. Kayadua. Those kochos, the kalim, the shviras ha-kalim, kalim is miloshen mida, right, mida, and then kayadua, what broke is the midas from chesed down to malchus, the 7 lower midas is where the shvira was. These things are called midas, right?
Can the Rav explain how kalim? I understand how we interpret kalim as.
It gives a gvul.
Okay.
Gvul. That's why it's mida, right?
Okay, it gives a gvul, and that it is mida. It's not exactly the same
is
thing.
mida. Why? Mida is a gvul as opposed to ein sof. Right, and that's what broke. I mean, the ora etzem, even the ora etzem didn't break. Excuse me. Hello. Efo ima. אוקיי, אני אעשה מה שאני יכול. אני אנסה לגמור כמה מהר שאני יכול. Baby's acting up. Oh.
So ladies' night out, I guess, tonight, huh?
No, I think she's retired. I just got sick of everything, just went to bed. It's mafkir and the baby in the hands of her.
Ladies' night in.
Yeah. Listen, okay, so getting back to, so now the concept of mida, is levush. It's got to fit, yeah, and that the Sfarim say, the main thing of a levush is a mida, right? So it's mamish, clothes got to fit. So the midas broke. It's mamish the bechinas levush.
There's really two things, though. There's one that it fits, and there's one that it covers.
Yes.
That's like the fitting is almost like I'm saying in the I don't know for now whether it's a mashal and nimshal, but it's a necessary evil that it has to fit, but its function is. I'm sorry, it's necessary it is fit, yeah, but its function is to cover. They're not synonymous. They're not synonymous concepts.
But no. But it could fit, and it could fit well. Or it has to fit to cover, but I'm just
saying if it fits well, that's the proper covering.
But the point is like this. When we say the midas are what broke, so again you're talking about the concept of levushim. Mida is again levush.
In the parallel that the Rav gave, I understand, right? That
mida is levush.
Right. That it's working. That it's working. That they're working in synchronization with each other. Is that it fits. And when it's not working, is that it's not fit? It doesn't fit, or is that a different aspect?
No. Fit. The etzem concept of fit is levush. Something fits. When you're talking about something else, something fits. But of course, in the broader sense, in Kabbalah, we say that you have to understand that we're getting a little bit past where the average readership won't. That in Al Pisod. The whole concept of mida is only in levushim. because the etzem is Ein Sof.
Yeah, you understand that.
The Or HaSpheris is Koach Ein Sofi. The spheres take on a gvul mitzad the kalim, and the kalim are called like their levush. So the midah is external to the etzem. By us we view our midas as but it's also not a correct perception. Our midas are actually mugbal relative to the pure Or HaNeshama, right? But I'm just saying, we're talking about that. What's broken is ideas that are parallel to levush, and that's what needs to be fixed.
Okay.
And have you remember the whole problem of the Shvira could be summed up, or how the Shvira was expanded by Chet Adam Rishon is the correct way to put it. There was always there was a certain primordial Shvira that had a tikkun, and Chet Adam Rishon, widened the crack, right? That the whole, it could be summed up as that the Chitzonius rebelled against the Pnimius, right? Right, and now the Shefa has to go into is mitlabesh in these levushim, right? And this is what the Navi finds. Really the Sharia Kedusha of Chaim Vital. The whole first 2 pages is this Yesod that we're saying now. So, and that's why you'll find throughout Tanakh and throughout Navi, throughout Navi and throughout Chazal, that chet is called like dirty garments, and you have to get off the begadim atzoim. But then you get halbeshot machalotzos, beautiful clothes. Because that's the tikkun that the Adam makes, and that Rav Chaim Vital in Shara Tusha writes is the sort of chalukah derabbanan, began eden lolam haba that we say in the tefillah before we put on the talis. The chalukah derabbanan is the good midas, and all the tikkunim, because that's as a word the beautiful garment that the neshama gained. That's like what needs to be done in course of our lives in olam hazeh. Right, is mamish to get rid of the dirty garments and replace them with clean garments. Tikkun achitzonius. And tikkun midas is part of that. That's what the Goin says in Mishlei. The whole tachlis of lifespan is because you have some midah you haven't fixed yet. But whole end of tikkun midas also is this chalukah derabbanan, says Rav Chaim Vital. As it were, what the neshama gains from having entered a body and entered olam hazeh, that it didn't have when it was in heaven, is that in heaven it was an etzem without a chutz. It was a pnim without a chutz. It didn't have the chalukah draban. As a word, the neshama was naked, right? Before it came to olam hazeh. What we're supposed to gain from our sojourn, the neshama coming to olam hazeh, is that it's metakin the guf, it's metakin the midas, it's metakin the corresponding chelik and yom, and that's all called a levush of yikar and tiferes that the neshama goes back to heaven with. That it didn't have. It didn't have that when it was just a neshama in heaven unborn. Right? It can't be you just came to olam hazeh to have a few nisyonis and you get back this. Halavai, you should go back the same way the way you came down. It can't be. You have to gain something from the whole. And the whole thing is this chalukah derabbanan. Now, once upon a time, it was a lot easier. Go get your chalukah derabbanan and go back to heaven, right? But because of chet adam rishon, it's like you gotta, you have to do a lot of laundering first, and then you get your chalukah derabbanan, right? And you go back to heaven, right? And chalukah derabbanan is the tikkun achitzonius, whether it's your midas, mitzad the adam, the midas. The midas are the kochos hanefesh that are in the guf. That's where Primus meets Chitzonius. But it's also all the inyan of the mitzvahs ma'asiyas that have to interaction with the world around us is all this inyan of tikkun of the levushim. And that's what we take with us to Olam Haba. We take with us the Chitzonius that we were metakin. That becomes the levush of Yekar that the neshama envelops, is enveloped in Olam Haba, which gives the neshama schus and powers it didn't have before it came into Olam Hazeh.
Just as an aside, so when the Mishnah says that it was better that the neshama not shelo nivra.
Noach l'adam shelo nivra. Noach. So that means
okay. So Noach but not Tov.
Noach benatov, and that's about there's a Baal Tanya. That means that seichel ha'enoshi It is an aside. Actually, it relates to Purim also, but I don't want to get into this. But what most Svarim say like this, that Nimnu v'gomru, is that they vote up, means that the machlokas was like this. Can the Adam b'seichol understand that it was better for him to be born? So that's why is that the Adam with the seichel enoshi can't understand that, because from our vantage point, why would I want to stand a chance to gain parallel to the chance of going against Ritzono Yisborach?
I just saw that Marshall. Who was it from? About the boat going out and the boat coming. About the boat coming in. On the Rishon.
Yeah. Right. So I say that's the shot. So mitzad seichel and noishi, like I should want to not even if I stand a chance to gain, but why should I want to have the sikun of doing one thing against Ritzono Yisborach? And that's why how it's toiv is lemala from our hasaga, that mitzad our hasaga we should opt to not be created lest we do wrong. Right? That's what it means.
Okay.
So I'll go. So this is the inyan, right? This is the inyan of so tikkun alavushim, tikkun of the chitzonius, right? That the right. So there are very many parallels between Chet Eitz Hadas and Amalek. Right. First of all, the famous Gemara in Chulin, Hamim Natar Minayin, Hamina Eitz. Right. When Hashem confronts, asks her, "Did you eat from the tree?" That's a remez already to Haman. Right. It's further alluded to, in the Megillah. Yasu Eitz Gavoch Hamishim Ama, it's the koach of Eitz Hadas Tovara, that infiltrated the whole Hamishim Shari Bina, was whatever.
The Rav spoke more about this. The Rav is just saying it very much bekitzer about this remez the Haman Minayin. The Rav spoke more about it on Shabbos. How is it kashur to our Inyan? No.
I spoke about it Lil Shabbos.
Maybe that's I'm confusing. Okay.
Yeah, Lil Shabbos. But okay, I'll call upon him. The Kayadua, it's not. There's no shortage of remazim. The whole yesod of the Gaon's Pirush on Megillah is that Haman is always a remes to the Yetzer Hara. Amalek is the nation of pure Ra, pure Yetzer Hara, which all expanded through Eitz Hadas. Right, but where it's more related to our issue, and this I didn't say in Shir and I should have, is what Chazal say, Ein Hashem Sholem, Ve'ein HaKisei Sholem, Ad Shimach Zar Shomok. Chazal darshan from the Psukim in Parshas B'Shach. Ki Yod Al Case Ka, Nuchama Hashem Balak Baros. So case Kisei without an aleph, right? And the Yud K without the Vav K, right? So now, what's missing? So now Kisei without an aleph, Kisei is a throne. Now a throne is a gilui as to the status of he who sits on it. But Kisei without an aleph is case, that means covered.
Right. Covered.
Right? And Kayadua, Yud and Hey are connected to spheres of Chachma and Bina, where the Shvira wasn't, or at least where more correct to say the Shvira was repaired over there. Right? What's missing is the Vav and Hey, which is connected to 7 lower Midas, where the Shvira is. But put in other words, Amalek obscures Hashem's presence in the world. Amalek is that kisui. He obscures, Hashem's throne. He obscures Hashem's presence in this world. The 7 lower midas where the teva is what he obscures. And this is what the Sforim point out in the psukim in the psukim of Parshas Zachor. In Parshas Vayizanev Nochbacha, he was makazanav. He cut off Klal Yisrael's bris milah and said Bazeh Bachar. He was against bris milah. Why was he against bris milah? Bris milah is to remove the orla. Now, orla is the kisui, right? That's what the Medrash says. It's a chazal that Adam Rishon pulled out his orla after Chet Eitzadas. Niflamot. Just like now the chitzonis obscures the previous. That's the end of the orla that obscures the bris. So Amalek is against the bris. Amalek stands for, he's anti-bris. So it means he's pro-orla, pro-cosmic foreskin, covering over. Obscuring Hashem's presence in the world, right?
And Adam Arishon doing that?
No, he did it as a result of the Chet Eitzadas. He pulled out his orla.
I understand. It was a proper action to do the way the Rav was saying. It's reflecting his mitzias.
It's reflecting his mitzias. I can't tell if he did right or wrong, but what motivated him to be moshach ba'orlasai after the Chet, because he realized his situation, and the Chet Eitzadas is the makor of orla. Orla is mamish, the chelik that represents the guf becoming what it wasn't meant to be, and that's why the orla is removed, right? It's
an extra cut. It's the
besoid kol ha-meisiv gorea, right? It's the hosafa that's gorea. It's the kisui, and that's why it's no coincidence that the orla is 7 days. On the 8th day we cut off. Can I get the 7 midas that got broken? The 7 midas that are mekulkal, right? Right. So Amalek is the kisui. Right? Amalek's the kisui. That's why he's connected orla. That's why he's against bris milah. He covers over Hashem's revelation in the world. So he's mamish keneged beged in the muvana shlili, in the negative sense of beged. Kisui, obscuring the pnimius. Right? Right? So now this is the Inyan as a counterbalance. Right? We mentioned, that the Inyan of the Mishkan, right, particularly in its function as a tikkun for Chet Ha'egel, right? But the Mishkan in general, and particularly as its function as a tikkun for Chet Ha'egel, is to be, as it were, one pure tzelem where the Shekhinah could dwell. All right, that's, we spoke of this many times, that the Mishkan is parallel to both the universe itself and parallel to the Adam, because as we mentioned many times in the Zohar, that Nefesh Chaim darshans on at great length. In Shalat there are 3 parallels: the Olamis, the Adam, and the Mishkan. Now the Adam B'Tikkuno is meant to be the Mishkan, so we said even like the Shitas that we would have always had a Mishkan no matter what. But even like them, if we wouldn't have sinned, the Ikar Shechina would be in Klal Yisrael, and the Mishkan would just be the Makam of Avodah, right? But Koshkin, like the Shitas that say that we have the Mishkan only as a default because we messed up our tzelem. So for sure, the Inyan of a Mishkan is one pure tzelem, right? And it's like, the Mishkan represents the Tzelem B'Tikkuno, which also represents the world B'Tikkuno. And last level, the Shekhinah will be in all Klai, so the Shekhinah will be all over the world, even though there will only be one place of Avodah. Right? Okay, so the Inyan of the Big Day Kahuna, Vasisa Big Day Kodesh La'aron Achicha L'Chavod V'L'Sifars. Right, the idea of the Big Day Kahuna is mamish a tikkun. The Big Day goes an unbelievable tikkun. It's beside tikkun al-levushin, as opposed to begotten being an Inyan of shame. There's l'chavod v'l'sifars, like the royal garments of a king, right? They don't obscure the king. They're megala the king. You could tell he's the king by the type of clothes that he wears, right? Like the clothes of the king are daima also to his shomrim. His shomrim surrounded, but they don't obscure him. Adrabah, that's a gilui of his covet, that he's surrounded by so many shomrim, by a royal guard. So who are dinami, the big day malchus, right, are there to be megala that the king is the king. Because he'd be walking around naked, who would know he's the king? Right? So so the Indian of the big day kahuna in the Makom HaMikdash, which is the Tzelem HaMetukan, right? So Indian of the big day kahuna is beside being metaken the Indian of begodim. That in the Mishkan, which is the Tzelem HaMetukan over here, there's beged in the correct fashion, that this is really what the guf is supposed to be to the neshama. L'chavad v'l'sifaris. That the guf that does Ratzon Hashem is a kavod and tiferes to the neshama. It's a big day kavod and malchus to the neshama. And that's the end of the big day kahuna. Right? Right, but here's the thing. Right? Right? That the inyan of tikkun ha'levushim, right, which, like I said, is the whole ikar focus of all the mitzvahs ma'asiyas and kol shkein of tikkun hamidus, right? So a person can't do that himself, right? I didn't mean that. A person cannot do that unguided. Unguided is what I meant to say. Unguided.
I thought the rabbi was going to say can't finish it, which is another aspect.
No, that's not finished. But I want to tell you about doing what we can do.
Yeah.
A person can't do it unguided because our brain is das tovara. Our brain is das tovara. Right? Our brain is das tovra. So like as it were, our das is in it. You have to be outside of it in order to do it. Right? It's sort of like ein chovish matirs atzvei beisrum. When you're mamish in it, you can't help yourself. Right? So that's why we need guidance from the outside. Right? In order to do tikkun halavushin. You know what it's like? Simple analogy. I can't see. Give me a candle.
Right.
Oh! So that's the inyan that before we come to the levushim, right? So we have the inyan of the parsha of the Shemen Lamaor. That Gaidua, the Shemen Lamaor is the or of Torah. Kiner mitzvah v'Torah or. That the message is you need the or of Torah to guide you. You need this candle to guide you, and then you have the roadmap and the wisdom, both the roadmap and the shikul adas, by which to be metakin the levushin. It's like a person can't do Torah without knowing halacha, right? But a person doesn't have the tavlin to be menatzech the Yetzirah without the Torah either. We need the Ora Torah al kol paneh, be it the halacha as to what to do, be it the musar of conquering the Yetzirah, and then you can do tikkun alavushin. Right? Right, because our natural das is in it, so we're against the chavish that needs outside enlightenment. Oh,
it's an element of it's not objectivity.
It is, but it's more. I'm in it, so I need help from the outside to get me out of it.
Okay.
Oh, but that's also the function of Moshe Rabbeinu, Nifla mode. The inyan of Moshe Rabbeinu, who gave us the Torah, right? It's through him that the Torah shines upon us. Moshe Rabbeinu is kiviyachol outside of it. He's outside of it, and he has to be outside. Because if you're in it,
You're outside of Torah? I thought
he's outside of he's outside of Klal Yisrael, but he connects to Klal Yisrael.
Because before the Rab was saying the outside was the Das Tovara.
No. Don't make a Gzer Shava out. I'm talking about outside as in terms of Ein Chovish Matirs Atzmui Beis Asuri. I need outside as in outside help, not outside as in Chitzonius.
Okay.
I meant, I need help.
Okay, no, what the Rab said before.
Beyond.
The Lashon of the Rab was because our brain is Das Tovara, so that's
right.
So that's the Chavush. That's
the
being
Chavush.
Chavush, right.
All right, so I need help from the outside.
But so why would it be?
Moshe,
so why?
I'm not going to explain. Obviously, the outside, but not outside is in chitzonius. Outside is
I know, but
not me, but influence upon me, because I'm in it. Right.
Okay.
And that's the Indian of Moshe Rabbeinu. Of course, the outside influence. I mean outside. The help has to connect with me. That's what we're talking about. Let's try to, right. Right, and it's nifla ma'od. It's davar nifla ma'od. Like we also mentioned this Friday night, right? But that with Milchemes HaMolech we find something else that we didn't find in the other milchamot that Dor Midbar had, right? Dor Midbar faced Sichon and Og, right? And and then they went to war against Moab, right? Etc. 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 Right? We don't find that Moshe Rabbeinu did this thing with the hands up, right? He was a part of the war effort in whatever way, right? In those other wars, right? Yeah. But by Milchemes HaMolech he plays a separate role. You have Yoshua and the people with the sword, and Moshe Rabbeinu is not there. He's Rosh Hagiva. He's separate. He's on top of the mountain with his hands up. And when his hands are up, Klal Yisrael wins. If not, Klal Yisrael loses, right? Because his function, Klal Yisrael is like in it. They're in the butts, right? They're in the mud fighting with Amalek. They're fighting with the dirt. They're in those dimensions of the chitzonius. They are infiltrated with evil, right? You got to be in it to win it. They used to say in OTB, off the track betting. Right? Got to be in it to win it. So you have to be in it to fight it, right?
Okay, yeah.
Right.
You have to participate in order to whatever. Okay. But here we're saying there's a separate.
But Moshe Rabbeinu is not in it.
Right.
He's not in it.
Right.
But he's influencing us because when he raises the hands above there to be Meshabed Us Lavinu Shebashamayim, right? Because Moshe Rabbeinu is connected the etzem or ein sof of Torah. There's ner mitzvah v'torah. The menorah is ner mitzvah, but there's Torah. Torah is the pure unadulterated. Now, a candle is light in a kli, and a kli we said is parallel to a levush, right? A candle is light in a kli, but Moshe Rabbeinu is the etzem. There's ner mitzvah, which is the menorah. It's ner mitzvah, right? Yeah. That's the koch of mitzvahs masiyas. Moshe Rabbeinu is connected the etzem Torah or. The pure or of Torah, right? He's out of it. He's not in it, right? And he's lo naslechai. He was as it were beyond the Yetzer Hara. He's called Isha Elokim, right? He's with the pure behirut. He's out of the whole mess, but he's supposed to have influence on us that are in the mess. He has an influence on Yoshua, right? Bringing his clarity to those who go into the levushim. Right? Now, Moshe Rabbeinu's role of being out of it is paralleled in, first and foremost, the most famous way is that he doesn't go into Eretz Yisrael. The door that's under his Hanhoga directly did not have the Shefa in levushim. The Shefa was not in levushim, right? The Shefa of Parnasa came down directly in form of Mon, right? It wasn't mitlabesh in earthly pursuits of like going to work and thus. Moshe Rabbeinu doesn't go into Eretz Yisrael. In Eretz Yisrael, the Shefa goes into levushim, right? The levushim of hishtadlus and parnasa, and work. Moshe Rabbeinu doesn't go into levushim, but like the most interesting way that this plays out is that until Aaron actually started doing the kuna, which is on the 8th day, during the Shivas Yemei HaMiluim, Moshe Rabbeinu did the avoda, say Chazal, in a beged lavan below Imra. So points out the Radziner Davar Nifla. His big day avoda was a simple white cloak with no hem. Right? So says the Radziner, it's connected Moshe Rabbeinu's inyan. Moshe Rabbeinu is mamish, the pure, unadulterated light. That's not mitlabesh in levushim, and that's why it's a simple white, not as it were colors is is a tzura. Simple white without a hem. It had no gvul. No gvul. The fact that the clothes ended where it was purely coincidental, but it had no hem that be'etzem said this is the gvul. It's or beli gvul. Right, but the or beli gvul has to influence, has to have influence upon what goes into the gvul, what goes into the levushim. So by Milchemes Amalek, so Yoshua's in it. He's in the mud, right? Right? Moshe Rabbeinu has influence on Klal Yisrael and Yoshua. So now the parallel is also over here that that the Or Torah, right, has to go into Kalim to influence us, and that's the Shemen Lama Or. Is that the Or Torah goes into the Ner Mitzvah. And that's the Nefesh Chaim Darshan. You light a candle from the light. The Torah Or lights the Ner Mitzvah. So that's V'ata Tetzaveh B'nei Zogah. You command, it's by your commands. It's Moshe Rabbeinu's influence. It's Moshe Rabbeinu's influence that creates the Shemen Lama Or. It's the Or Ein Sof going into the Ner Mitzvah. But further, as a further chizuk, it's also v'ata kreve lechas Aaron achicha, and you draw Aaron. You have to give chizuk and influence. You need the koach haTorah which is Moshe Rabbeinu, to enlighten the adam that's in the levushim. They should successfully be able to be metak in the levushim, and that's the thing that Moshe Rabbeinu in this part is called va'ata, and you, not just he's not Moshe. He's not that even though he's on the outside, because he has to be on the outside in order to help us, but he's connecting to Klal Yisrael. And that's why he's called not just Tam Ata, he's called Ve'ata, with the Vav HaChibur, and you. That Moshe Rabbeinu is not a private citizen, even though he's on the outside, because he needs to be on the outside to help us, right? But he's connecting to us, and that's Tetzaveh, Lashon Tzavta, connection. V'ata Tetzaveh B'nei Yisrael. That the whole Shemen Zayzach is by Moshe Rabbeinu's command, and it's brought to him that the Pshat is the Shemen Zayzach of the menorah, the Ner Mitzvah, captures the Or of the Torah Or. And that's also Aaron, has to be close to Moshe Rabbeinu, V'ata Krev Elech Aaron Achicha, to have the koach, again, he needs, because he's metak in the of the levushim, he needs direct influence of Moshe Rabbeinu. V'ata Krev Elech Aaron Achicha. And that's only in the Parshas Tetzaveh, Moshe is called Va'ata, it's to connect him, he's on the outside. But we have to connect him to us, so he should have influence upon us, that we should be able to win this war, which is being waged against the Etzem Hara, that we're sunk in. Right? Okay, now that's all mitzad tikkun halavushim, but there's a gvul to how far we can go. Because as much as you try, right? Kol gadol mechavero, yitzor gadol imeno. Seems that no matter how much you steig, yitzor is growing with you. You're never finished, right? Al tami batzulchad yom moscha, right? You're never done. There's it seems as much work as there is to do. There's always yet more to do. Right? Right, and you should know that the function of there always being more work to do is because there's one last point that the Adam can't do himself, and that's realizing that not just conquering the Ra and turning it to Tov, but understanding that the whole Etzem Mitzius Hara in the first place was L'Tayv. That's beyond the Adam to do. The Adam could conquer the Ra and win it over to Tov, be Kovish as Yisrael. Right? But to understand that the whole Mitzius of Ra Milchatchila is L'Tov, that's beyond the Adam. And as a function of that, that's always where there's always still more work to do.
It's beyond his understanding, therefore it's beyond his ability to do it.
Right. to make the final conversion, that it's not just like defeating the branches of evil, right? But defeating like the essence of evil and coming to the Hakar, that the whole essence of evil was L'toiv. That's why there's like always, like it seems like the Ra is always there. because the Ra, the Etzem Ra needs to be converted to Tov also. But that's beyond the Adam's ability. Adam like defeats the branches of Ra. The Ra was mitpashet here, so I conquered this and I was mitaken it. The Ra was mitpashet there, so I conquered that and I turned it around. But it's conquering the Etzem Nekuda Sarah. And that's beyond the Adam. But you know what? Even though it's beyond the Adam, the Rebbe Shem wants it to happen through the Adam anyway. Through the Adam. The Adam will be the vehicle for it. Now, being the vehicle for it is on two levels, right? Being the vehicle for it, first of all, means that you did everything that you can do. So you deserve that Hashem should finish it off for you. But there's also, but even the finishing off, Hashem will do through the Adam, even though it's bigger than the Adam. But now we're getting to the Soida Ketores. You should know the Ketores is also the inyan of anti-Ra. But it's on two levels. Connected what the Tamei HaMitzvahs of the Rambam as opposed to the Tamei HaMitzvahs of the Ramban. The Rambam in his Tamei HaMitzvahs.
Ramban and Nachmanides?
There's a machlokas between the Rambam and Ramban as to the Tam of Ketores.
Right. So which one are you saying first?
Going in from lower to higher. So we start with the Rambam. The Rambam writes in the Tamei HaMitzvahs for the Ketores, right? That since the base of Mitzvah was a place where there's a lot of butchering going on, it stunk. So you need the Ketores to get rid of the stink.
Is it in the more Nevuchim?
Is in the more Nevuchim.
Yeah. Okay.
So of course there are those who ask, Ram, how can you say such a mundane reason? But Lamaaseh, the Radzina points out that it's almost mafurish in the Zohar, just in different lashon. That says because that around there's the Sitracha tries to cling, right, to all the dead meat. So the Ketores scatters the Sitracha. Because of that, the Ketores, right, the Ketores is anti-Ra, So like as the Radzina points out, where do you think stink comes from? It comes from the Sitracha. Why? Because as a result of Chet Adam Rishon, things die and decompose. That's where stink comes from rot. If things wouldn't die and decompose, there wouldn't be stink in the world, right? So it comes out that the sirachon, right, the sirachon that there is in the world, right, is from the sitrachra. So Ketores is anti the sitrachra, it's anti the stink, which is also an effect of from the Chet Eitz Hadas, bringing death and decay to the world. That's where stink comes from. Right? With this Rambam, you can understand already the Chitzonius, we'll even go deeper, what it says that at the time of Matan Torah, Nismala Olam Kulo Bisamim. Right? The world was filled with fragrance. Because at the time of Matan Torah, because Klal Yisrael by Matan Torah was Pascha Zua Masam, they were Metaken Chet Adam Rishon, so stink was removed from the world. It was only a beautiful smell. Just it got even more and more, so Hashem had to take that Besamim out to bring the new Besamim, which to understand why there was even more and more levels of higher fragrance, we're going to talk about the time of the Ramban. Right, but I'll Ramban, understand why at the time when the Tikkun Achet, the world was filled with fragrance, because stink comes from Chet Adam Rishon, from the presence of the Sitrachra. Right? So with this, we could already understand why the Mizbach HaKetores is together with the Big Day Kahuna. It's all about being misalik and being metakin the Chitzonius. Right?
Just to get back 1 second, what does it mean that the Sitrach was clinging onto the, so to speak, the Basa Karbonis? I would assume that that's a place where the Sitracha almost doesn't have, it says it was a zvuv, for example, there was no zvuv. You would think that it's a place where Sitra Achra has no achiza.
No, but it tries to have achiza mitzvah that's dead meat. I mean, it tries, the Ketores, dead meat.
At some subtle level, there's something
There's
going
death.
on that it needs that.
So it tries to get in that way, and the Ketores,
Uh-huh.
So, but the Ramban says even a more advanced, not bestira to the Rambam, but in addition, a greater omek on the union of Ketores. A greater omek on the union of Ketores, that's Lashon Kesher. Ketores in Aramit is
Right.
a Kesher. Right? Now to understand the Ramban, the Gemara in Shabbos says that when Moshe Rabbeinu went up to Shamayim, and he debated with the Malachim, right? So and he won them over. He convinced them why Torah should be given to Adam. So it said Lakachas Matanas Badam. Every Malach gave him a matana. So the Malach Amavis also gave him a matana. He told him to say that the Ketores stops plagues. Like Niflimot, the whole in of Ketores said that it's the Zgulot, the special qualities of Ketores, was revealed to Moshe Rabbeinu by the Malach HaMaves. And what does it do? It stops plagues, right? It's Niflimot that the Ketores represents how also the Tumah and the Ra is tied to the Kedusha. That even the Ra is really Letov, which is something that's above the Das of the Odom. That the Ra was Nivra L'tzorach Tov.
Which the Ra in this mashal is what?
So now, first of all, the etzem fact that the
Malach
Malach is the expert, is the consultant for the Indian of Ketores and special school note, that how Ketores could stop a Magefa, right? So the Dafka from the Malach HaMaves, and this is what he gave Moshe Rabbeinu. It's his participation in Matan Torah. This the kesher that the Ra has to the Tov.
Well, a simple understanding is because he knows what his enemy is and what he has to beat.
Yeah, but we're saying a different Havana. That that Torah is how you turn the Ra around to Tov. You tie it to Tov. And that's what the Sfarim said is Yud Aleph Samamei Ketores. And so there's 10 spheres. The Yud Aleph is connected to Moisif Gorea, called Moisif Gorea, and that's the Ra. That's like the whole Safa on the Bria, that's Megarea. But it's part of the Ketores that whole Safa is meant to be Mishamish. So it's Tofel. It's there to be Mishamish, and that's what comes out in the Ketores. How the Ra is Litzarach the Tov. Right? So that's also where the Chazal learn on Halacha, that one of the 11 is the Chelbana Sherecho Ra, and yet it's one of the Samei Ketores. And from there also we learn Halacha that Kol Tanis Tzibor Shein B'hem Miposhe So Eno Tanis Tzibor. For the Rishonim have to be involved. It's a kesher that the Ra is kashur to the Tov, and therefore, and because that's Nefach L'Tov. So mitzad this, maybe we should have been magdim before we got to the Ramban, right? That we find that reach and re'iyah are actually, one is a higher level of the other, right? We say we need the Or Torah, maybe this wasn't explained enough. I only talked in terms of guidance. But again, you need the Or Torah for Tikkun HaLevushim. Because that's what Levushim are. Levushim obscure. They block the Re'iyah. Levushim block the Re'iyah. You need, as a countermeasure for that, you need the Or of Torah, connected what's being blocked. Levushim obscure. They cover over. They're a kisui on the Or, so you need to break through. You need the Or Torah, and the Or Torah is connected to kisui, and then you could, and then you could have, and then you could convert, it to be, big day covered with seafarers. So now, right. right? So now we find that the chush hareach, right, just like re'iyah, right, right. Re'iyah is a way of measuring things. So is smell. But smell is on a more, more, I call it more sublime level. Like, like we say, we have a hunch, it doesn't smell right. Even Goyim talk in that lashon. So now Chazal say that, v'aricho b'yiras Hashem, first is a pasuk, that reach is attributed to Yirat Shamayim. Right? Right.
What's a pasuk?
I can't remember. It's supposed to know v'aricho b'yiras Hashem. It's a pasuk like that. But so generally Yira and Re'iyah are the same, it's the same oisius, right? But also there's v'aricho b'yiras Hashem. But more importantly is that the Navi says that Mashiach will not lo lemara ein Navi. He's not going to judge things by his eyes, but he'll smell and he's being morach v'doyin. As the Gemara says that they tried on Bar Koch, but he wasn't able to be morach v'doyin, so they killed him. Right. Yitzchak Avinu, who lost his sense of sight, said, right, Vayarach esreach begodav. He smelled Esav's garments. It's nifla mode that he went to smell. He couldn't see the garments. He went to smell the garments. The Chazal dafka darshan vayach reach begodav. The rebellious ones of Klal Yisrael. They saw that even the rebellious ones of Klal Yisrael are full of schuyot. Right? There's how the reach reaches even higher than re'iyah.
The Rav was saying about what the common denominator is between the two. I remember in this year specifically, and the Rav started to talk about it just now, about how that they measure. But there was wasn't there some other aspect that you're saying there was a common denominator between the two? Than just, there was something else the Rav was saying was common between them.
All right, it'll come back to us. All right, so I'll put in the right. And so now there's, and that's connected, how, that Chazal say that reach is a tanug of the neshama, and not of the guf. That reach is mamish the koach hapnimi. Eyes are more chitzoni to reach, because where sight is a pleasure, is considered to be a pleasure of the body also, beautiful sight. A beautiful smell is considered a pleasure of neshama. So it means the chush reach can reach more bifnim than sight. That's the subtlety. Morach v'doin. Yeah, you can smell. Smell could reach what sight can't. Right? Sight smells right. Doesn't smell right. I smell a rat. As I talk about things you can't mamish see with your eyes, subtleties, because mamish reach is more the koach of the neshama than the eyes, which is has the koach of neshama also, but it's also the koach haguf, and it's like the koach of reach, like kol kulo pnimius. And that's why the avodah of Ketores is, besides that it's in the Heichal, it's called avodas pnim, and at the time that the Ketores is brought, no one's there, it's called avodah b'chashai. But more than that, the Ketores is the one avodah that's done lifnai v'lifnim, in the Kodesh HaKadoshim. But now the Kodesh HaKadoshim is higher than the other. That's why, Ayova b'chol Yisrael Kodesh seemingly would include Yom Kippur, so the Yerushalmi says, well, when the Kohen Gadol, both the Yerushalmi and the Zohar both say that when the Kohen Gadol went on Yom Kippur, he was above the level of mortal man. So therefore, the Isur didn't pertain to him, right? It's Kodesh Kodesh is considered to be beyond where the Adam is, and that's where the Ketores is brought, right? And in that level of lifnai v'lifnim, which the Ketores is connected, right? That's connected atzilus, where it's kulo tov, and there's no ra. But what it means over there is that over there, the Ra turns to Tov. The Ra, everything finds its kesher to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and even the Ra turns to Tov, but that's above the Das of the Adam. Because the Adam Lefi Dato has to always fight the Ra, not look for how the Ra is good. You have to fight the Ra. The Avodah of Das is to be Mavdil Ben Tov L'Ra, like the Yerushalmi says, where are they metakein, Havdol and Chona Daska, Aim Das Havdol Minayin. Our Das is to be Mavdil between Or and Choshech, between Yisrael, not to, right? It's above our Das how the Ra, is tied to the Tov and services the Tov. Because in our job, we have to always be fighting the Ra. Right? So this level is like Lamal from the Adam. But now you can understand, that this is the Etzer, this Avodah is connected, the Etzer Makesher Apnimi. Right? And that's why Moshe Rabbeinu challenged Korach on the Keteris. It's called the Avodah Chavil Fnei HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Let's see, you want to see you have a Kesher to Kahuna? Well, the Keteris is what's connected Kesher. Let's see if you have a Kesher. Right? Right? Balkol Panim, that's what Nadav and Avihu wanted. Just promised that they wanted it too soon and they jumped some steps. They wanted that kesher, that special kesher with HaKadosh. There is a day that they brought even Lifnai v'Lifnim. And you have to go step by step. First do your job, right? And then HaKadosh will finish up for you. You can't jump straight to that. Right? And that's according to, they sort of wanted Purim before its time. So that fits down. Shtuye yayin hayu. Right? I'm not sure if we're saying this in the proper order as it should be presented. But I'll call upon it. The higher level of after Tikkun HaLevushim, which is Silukara and winning the Chitzonius over L'Toiv, is to understand that how the whole Metzias of Ra in the first place was L'Tzarech HaTov. And that's bigger than the Yerim, and that's what's Merumas in the Keteris. And that's what comes out through Milchemes Amalek also. When we defeat the Ra, you have to go to really, really, really defeat the Ra. To add another sentence, so long as you view the Ra as Ra, there'll always be more work to be done. The final defeat of the Ra, that the Mamish won't be any more work to be done, is when you realize that the Ra is Latov. But that's bigger than where our Das is right now. We have to first fight the Ra and fight the Ra and fight the Ra, Tikkun HaLevushim, and then at the end of that, HaKadosh Baruch Hu finishes the job for us, and then the job is really finished when you see the Ra as Tov. But as long as you see the Ra as Ra, there'll always be more work to be done. You'll get, it's like Zeno's paradox. You get 7/8 to the door, 9/10 to the door, right. But you'll never reach the door until you understand that the Ra is Tov, but HaKadosh Baruch Hu does that for you after you've done everything you can do.
You're saying ultimately there will be a recognition of Bnei Adam?
Yes, but it's going to be after we've maxed out over here. And it's called that the Rebbe will finish it, but he'll finish it for you because you've done everything you can do, and that's why it'll be considered in your schus that it happened, because you did everything you can do. And then when it does happen, it's called that, of course, making it happen means to reveal it to the Adam. So it's still going to be through the vehicle of the Adam. The big tikkun is when in the kalim of the das of the Adam will realize the Ra is L'Toiv, right? So it's still called that it's happening through the Adam. Because Hashem already knows that the Ra is L'Toiv. So the big tikkun that has to be done is in the das of the Adam, in Gilui to the Adam. So it's in the merit of the Adam that the Adam did everything he can do, and then after that Hashem even works through the Adam because that's the kalim where the tikkun has to happen, in the das of the Adam. The Rebbe knows the truth already. The Gilui is not for him; it's for us. So it always happens b'schus Adam and through the Adam. But first, you have to do everything you can do, and then the Raz Nehapech L'Tov. So
isn't there a lashon in Tehillim, a lashon of the Hashem Gomer Alai?
Yeah, Lokela Gomer Alai.
That's a musig.
That's what I said. That's what I said about the Sanhedrin, that even if they're wrong, so Hashem finishes it off for them. You're right. And it's the same idea. Hashem Gomer Alai. He finishes. You start. He finishes. There's Mamash Lashon by Amalek. That the merit Tanchuma and Parshas Kiseitze says there's there's a steer to it. It says Kimocho Emchen as a Timchen. Who does it? We do it or he does it. So Lashon Ber is that we start. He finishes. We start. He finishes. You start. I'll finish. And then that finish is connected to Keteris. When you go lifnai v'lifnim, you see that there's no Ra. Everything's just HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and even the Ra is from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That's Lifnai V'Lifnim, that's bigger than the Adam, Lifnai V'Lifnim. That's why the Kohen Gadol ascended to the Darga of a Malach when he went. It's bigger than the Das of the Adam. And that's why the Isur of going to Kadosh Baruch Hu doesn't apply, because he wasn't Bedargas Adam. Right? Oh, but on Purim, and that's the of Purim Kippurim, the famous Tikkun Zor. That Yom Kippurim is a day like Purim. Yeah. Right? That on Purim, which is the day of Mechias HaMolech, so on this day we get a glimpse of the future also. So Devar Niflamod, this is what's alluded to in the characters of Purim, that famous Gemara in Chulin Daf Kuf Lamites. It starts off Moshe min Torah minayim. Where's the remez for Moshe? B'shegamu basa. Even though man is of flesh, there still could be a Moshe Rabbeinu that will enlighten the flesh. The flesh is the levush that needs tikkun. That's a Lashon Navi that all the Sfarim bring. That that the guf is a levush on Shama. Or v'basar tal bisheni. The Torah calls the skin and the flesh. Or v'basar tal bisheni. So b'shegamu basar, there will be a Moshe Rabbeinu that will bring down the or, that will be metakin the basar. Right? That will be metakin the levushim. Right? But then connected that there's hamim natar minayin hamina etz, that he's the koach that's mitchazek, to make the sveikus and to make it seem like the chitzonius is a stira to the pnimius. And then because it Esther minator minayin vanochi haster aster ponai. Because one of the inyanim of the Eitz Hadas created Hester Panim, which is levushim, being mastir. So there's tikkun al levushim, right? And that's Meruma's in Esther, tikkun al levushim.
It seems
the
the opposite.
Hester. She's going to be metakin the Hester. She's going to be metakin the Hester.
Even though Chazal say v'yoma, what's lashon astiras panai. The lashon itself is a lashon of Hester. So why should you think that the name is alluding to the a gilui of the Hester?
No, because Hester Panim is the hashgacha that's parallel to levushim,
right?
Being mastir Panim, right. And Esther's metakin that. Mm-hmm. Esther's metakin the Hester Panim, which is beside tikkun al levushim. That's saying she wanted to send levushim to Mordechai v'lo kibel, and then Mordechai taka gets those levushim. Mordechai yatzam b'frenash b'levush malchus, right? That the end of the 5 big day malchus is connected to 5 that already Yosef alluded to when he wanted to give Binyamin chamesh chalifa smos. It's all connected tikkun al levushim, but Mordechai himself, Gufa, is even on a higher madrega. So of course Mordechai works together with Esther and tikkun al levushim. That's the tikkun of Hester Panim, which is the negative aspect of levushim. Hiding the Ribon Shalom. The Rambam says kanaf of the beged. Kanaf is lashon to hide. Lo yikanef od morecha v'lo yinecha ros es morecha. Knaf is in knaf of a beged is miloshin Hester. And we have to be misgaber that the in of the chitzon sabri is not to be mastir HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It's to be ma'isiv kavod to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And Esther, Mordechai helps her, is metakin. That's saying that afterwards Mordechai is zeichet to the levushei malchus. But Mordechai Gufa is on a higher level. With the remes from Mordechai is from Reya, is besamim. Kachacham more drawer, maradechia. Right? That Mordechai's, the tikkun that he adds is on an even higher level. He works together with Esther to metakin the levushim. Right? That's the of costumes on Purim, the connected Hester, right? But it's all maramis to, the Indian of tikkun al levushim. Right? Tikkun al levushim, tikkun al Hester. Right? But then Mordechai Guf is connected keter, sweet smell, which is the function of keteris. And that's chayav inish libsume bepuraya ad delayra ben or haman leborach Mordechai. Because from Mordechai comes libsume, lashon besamim. Even in Aramaic it means that. Yeah. Like milsa. So getting drunk, what we do by getting drunk on wine is parallel to the avodah of keteris lifnai v'lifnim. And it's why it's ad delayra. It's above das. Above das, we're besume, Lashon besamim, which is in of Mordechai. That's why it's Dafka Or Haman versus Baruch Mordechai, not Or Haman versus Esther. That's the special tikkun aspect of Mordechai that's connected the besamim, connected the ketairos of how the Ra is mechuber to the toiv, but that's lamala from das, and that's the aspect of besume. What we do by getting drunk, right, is parallel to the avodas haketairos in lifnai v'lifnim, which is bigger than the other. That's why it's adla, it's above das, right? And that's what we say, that none of our view wanted Purim before its time. That's why it's not because they were, according to one mandor, they were Shisuya Yayin, and they did the Ketairas Ashalot Tziva. The problem is that you can't do it Shalo Bahadraga. You have to first, you have to do whatever the Torah says, Al Seder HaTorah, and then the Rebbe Shem finishes off for you. He gives you, first do whatever you can do, B'das, Ad Asof, and then the Rebbe Shem gives you the Madrigas that are bigger than your Das. You can't go straight to that. They did Eishazar Shalot Tzuva. And as Shisuya Yain, they took Purim before its time. No, that's also part of the Inyan that before Purim we have Tanis Esther. Yom Kippur and Purim are reciprocals. You go into Yom Kippur after a day full of eating. You go into Purim after a day full of fasting. That's the reciprocals. You see, on Yom Kippur, we didn't say this in Shir, but on Yom Kippur, you want to take the chitzonius into the pnimius. You eat, and you walk into the Lifnai v'Lifnim. You take the chitzonius into the pnimius. Right? On Purim, we're megala the pnimius in the chitzonius. Right. So first you have to have a day of abstention to be mechazik the koach hapnim, and then you go with the pnim into the chutz. So you have to have a day of abstention where it's like a day of neshama without guf, because and then you take the neshama, put the neshama into the chitzonius. Yom Kippur is the reciprocal. It's like putting the you bring the primus into the chitzonius into the primus, and Purim it's the other way. You bring the primus into the chitzonius. And get drunk, and there you find, and it's maush beside akteris, and that's a bigger tikkun than Yom Kippur. Yom Kippur is to bring the primus into the chitzonius. And on Purim, we put the primus into the chitzonius.
Okay.
All right, so that's it.
Good.
All right, Shem Yazor.
A couple of
I feel
questions.
this mimer is bigger than me also.
Well, in tandem with what I heard on Friday night, it was like I was on overload. You saw how I was combining things that I heard on Friday night.
I just finished.